Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Transfer Talks. This is the 7th episode, and as always, I'm joined by Mr. Critical himself, Ewan. And Ewan, we're best to start with then Ineos Grenadiers, who are set, it looks like, to lose Egan Bernal to Israel's startup nation. And this seems very perplexing, to be honest.
Well, this rumor is not necessarily concrete. It's purely based on a web of mystery. On the latest episode of Radio Corsa, which is this Italian cycling show, the journalist Beppe Conti, who we've spoken about before, reported that there could be a rift inside Ineos Grenadiers surrounding Egan Bernal, despite his Giro d'Italia win. And the rumor here is that Israel Startup Nation are the only team who have a huge offer ready for him, with the possibility that Chris Froome could retire at some point as well. So it seems like a very, very interesting set of debates, an interesting set of negotiations, but Bernal's own manager himself, Giuseppe Agquadro, has also denied this completely, but we'll have to wait and see if this is true. We believe that Egan Bernal should be staying with Ineos Grenadiers, but this Israel Startup Nation rumor does mix things around a bit.
Well, we might as well. People love speculation. And do you think Egan Bernal would actually fit in with Israel Startup Nation? We've made a lot of jokes about Israel Startup Nation, that they haven't really been as competitive as the riders that they've had on their roster. Their palmareses, many of them are really good, such as Dan Martin, who's going to retire. Chris Froome, of course, we can't take away that he's a 4-time Tour de France winner, although has had a lot of bad luck with injuries and crashes. So, Ewan, do you realistically think Israel Startup Nation does have the infrastructure in place to support Egan Bernal, who is, as you said, the defending Giro d'Italia champion? And we could say that if it wasn't for the strong team he had with Ineos Grenadiers, Egan Bernal potentially couldn't have won that Giro.
Well, you know what they say. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. So Egan Bernal should definitely stay within Ineos Grenadiers. For the time being, he looks like he's the out-and-out leader of the team to some extent, and knowing that Froome has left in recent years, and also Geraint Thomas looks to be upping sticks. We haven't heard all that much information about that rumor, however. But if Egan Bernal went to a team such as Israel Startup Nation, I really don't see much success coming his way. We know how little Israel Startup Nation win on the big World Tour stage races, and even on the big Grand Tour stages. They don't seem to really snatch all that many victories. So Egan would certainly not suit that setup at all. And I hope he stays well clear of Israel Startup Nation.
Another Colombian that does look like he's going for the exit door at Ineos Grenadiers is the cousin of Sergio Hanauer, and that is Sebastian Hanauer, who's rumored to going to Astana. And this could be a very interesting fit for the 28-year-old who hasn't quite lived up to the expectation or the name of Hanauer, but he is a very solid climber, you would say. And Ewan, do you think this is a good move for Astana to get such a solid rider from Ineos Grenadiers now that they've had such an exodus? And potentially this could be a good move.
Well, they got to sign somebody, and I think Sebastian Hanauer does suit this mold of riders at Astana at the moment. A very solid climber. He could help some of their GC leaders go for the big wins and GC victories. In terms of the Spanish-speaking setup, they have a lot there with a lot of Spanish riders, many of which are also rumored to leave, however, and a number of Colombian and Latin American talents. So I think he'd fit in fairly well and would give that experience that I think some of these riders on the team, such as Harold Tejada, will probably be needing.
So anyways, sticking with Astana Premier Tech, they are, of course, also rumored to be losing 2 of their key riders in the past seasons. And that is, of course, Luis Leon Sanchez, who's going to Bahrain Victorious. And it looks like Jakob Fuglsang has finally found a team for 2022. And that is Team Bike Exchange. And Ewan, what do you make of these 2 riders? They are both reaching the twilight of their career. And do you think this is good for Astana, or are they losing key assets here?
Well, Fuglsang going, I think, was inevitable. Fuglsang's been finding it very hard to get a contract over this transfer window. We know that we've spoken about Cofidis, Israel Startup Nation, and so forth. But now finally, something seems to be sticking, and Bike Exchange could be a good home for him. But we know Bike Exchange haven't exactly had the best tactics over the past 12 months. They haven't tasted success all that much, really. So hopefully they can reshuffle things for Fuglsang and work towards the Spring Classics, as they don't have a classic star right now in the sort of flesh wallon Liège-Bastogne-Liège setups. And in terms of Luis Leon Sanchez, while they're losing a big lieutenant, he's incredibly experienced. He's ridden many Grand Tours, many big races, and it's going to be a shame to see him move over after a long stint at the team. But at Bahrain Victorious, I could see him settling in. There's already some Spanish riders there with some big Basque leaders on that squad. So it seems like a natural move for Luis Leon Sanchez as he looks towards the twilight of his career.
So next we move on to a team that looks like they've been very busy this week, and that is EF Education, who have been linked to a number of riders. And Ewan, who are these riders?
Well, EF Education first have been linked to a whole host of riders. We'll just list them off here. Marin van den Berg, Ben Healy, James Shaw, Sean Quinn, Georg Steinhauser, Lukasz Wisniewski, as well as Merhawi Kudus, who has officially signed on the day of recording. But in terms of these big rumors, I think Ben Healy is an interesting one to focus on. He's a very, very promising Irish talent who was very active at the Baby Giro and also the Tour de l'Avenir this year. He's just 21 years old and could certainly do a lot more on the World Tour level, a puncher by nature, just like Dan Martin. Nevertheless, the other riders here, James Shaw, who has spoken on this channel in the past, he is another interesting move. He's been searching out a World Tour team for a while. So it looks very promising for James Shaw. What's he going to do over the next 12 months at EF? Well, we'll have to find out. But the amount of EF riders linked to the team makes me worry about people leaving. We already know that Sergio Higuita is leaving. So maybe Jonathan Vaughters is having to do some last-minute negotiations with his riders.
So, of course, we can't have a transfer episode without Ewan talking about some French riders. And Ewan, who's the French rider that is moving sticks?
Well, that's an interesting move over to B&B Hotels for Victor Koretsky from France. He is just 27 years old. His name might seem familiar to many of you guys. He was junior cross-country world champion back in 2011. He's also become senior cross-country team relay gold medal winner, as well as being European under-23 cross-country champion in the past. He's a very, very interesting French mountain biker, and he's joining this new generation of riders that have been signed as transition athletes. We keep seeing it a lot. Most notably Ben Seehoff in the past 12 months, who is a similar age. He signed for Bora Hansgrohe after having a very successful mountain biking career. So Victor Koretsky will be part of this. He's going to be riding at the French Pro Continental level with B&B Hotels, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do for the men in Glas.
So anyways, that's basically it for our 7th episode of this Transfer Talks. And of course, make sure to look out for some of our videos that are coming up that are very exciting. I can't say too much. And therefore, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.